access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television. They had a recording of Meek and Diddy
making love?
Ew. I don't know if it was love.
They want to make it. They want to make it so badly. You get these vulnerable people. Parents are letting you do this because they want to make it so badly. And then you record them probably and say, if you do anything, we got this on you.
You know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody.
For years, Justin Bieber stayed silent, as the world watched him transform from a YouTube teen sensation into a global pop icon. Few people knew what was happening behind the scenes, but now, with lawsuits mounting against Sean Diddy Combs and multiple celebrities stepping forward with disturbing claims, it seems Justin is finally ready to speak out. And what he's revealing is deeply unsettling in recent weeks. Quiet whispers have turned into full-blown fan theories, old clips have resurfaced. And suddenly, Justin's long and complicated history with Diddy is being re-examined under a harsh spotlight. But this time, it's not just about cryptic social media posts or awkward interviews, it's about what Justin, allegedly witness firsthand reports suggest he's naming names, revealing a list of rappers and celebrities allegedly connected to Diddy, including major figures like Usher and Meek Mill. These aren't just wild internet rumors. Several of these men have had their own suspicious ties to Diddy in the past, such as Meek Mill's infamous leaked footage, and now, all those strange party stories and bizarre encounters fans once brushed off suddenly seem far more sinister. Justin has even begun hinting at the truth through his social media. One recent video showing him eating a slice of pizza while Diddy's ex Cassie testified in court sent the internet into a frenzy. Many fans believe it was no coincidence, but rather a deliberate message. Journalist and Pizzagate figure Liz Crokin remarked, "The video looks like it was taken from a surveillance camera, the kind of cameras," she implies, that Diddy allegedly used to record his infamous freak-off parties, not for memories, but for blackmail. According to Justin Bieber's claims, he was exposed to things no child should ever witness. Stories are emerging about disturbing sleepovers, being forced to watch things no teenager should see, and the twisted power dynamics that defined Diddy's inner circle for years. People dismissed Justin's public meltdowns, substance abuse, and erratic behavior as the byproducts of teenage fame, but now, there's a growing awareness that his struggles may have stemmed from something far more traumatic. And this may just be the tip of the iceberg. It all appears to trace back to Usher. Before he was a global R&B icon, Usher was just a hopeful teenager with a dream. He was discovered by music executive L.A. Reid and signed to LaFachi Records. But raw talent wasn't enough to climb the industry ladder. There were unspoken rules and powerful people to please. Enter Sean P. Diddy Combs. Early in his career, Usher was placed under Diddy's wing. The industry told him that if he wanted to make it, he had to learn from the mogul who ruled the scene. And Diddy was exactly that, a larger-than-life figure with unmatched influence. So, still a teenager, Usher packed up and moved in with Puffy. The official story was that Diddy would teach him the ropes, how to navigate the industry, build a brand, and become a star. But what happened behind closed doors? That's the part that's only now starting to come out.
Moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
But according to Usher himself in past interviews, what he experienced under Diddy's mentorship was far from traditional. At first it was thrilling. He was surrounded by celebrities, immersed in high-energy environments and soaking up industry knowledge. But that initial excitement quickly gave way to confusion and discomfort. Usher began to notice things that didn't sit right. There were parties that felt off, people coming and going at strange hours, and behavior that didn't match the polished, professional image Diddy projected to the public. He admitted that it was overwhelming. He was young, far from home, and thrust into a chaotic lifestyle that felt more disorienting than inspiring. Over time, the so-called mentorship fizzled out and Usher gradually distanced himself. He's rarely spoken about that chapter in detail, but fans have long speculated that his early experiences with Diddy left a lasting impression. And now, in light of the recent allegations and with Justin Bieber beginning to speak out about his own troubling past with Diddy, many are revisiting Usher's story with renewed scrutiny. You see, Usher met Diddy when he was just 13 years old. Diddy didn't just mentor him, he became his legal guardian and produced Usher's 1994 debut album. At the time, it looked like the opportunity of a lifetime, a young artist learning directly from one of the most powerful figures in music. But years later, Usher revealed that he was exposed to much more than just studio sessions and industry strategy. In a 2004 interview with Rolling Stone, Usher reflected on that period, saying Diddy introduced him to a lifestyle far too mature for someone his age. He described the environment as overwhelming, filled with scenes and situations no teenager should have to witness now. With multiple lawsuits and disturbing allegations piling up against Diddy, Usher's early years under his wing no longer seem like just a wild ride through the music industry. They feel deeply troubling, especially when you remember Usher was still just a kid.
We used to wake up and, damn, pause, but like, check this out. Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the frosted flake.
During his 35th birthday celebration in 2013, Usher opened up about his early years in the music industry and the powerful influence Sean Diddy Combs had on him as a teenager, according to a report by the Daily Mail. Diddy was actually present at the event when Usher gave a candid speech, reflecting on his formative experiences in the spotlight. "I was introduced to everything by Puff Daddy when I was only 15, Usher said, recalling the kinds of parties and the fast-paced lifestyle that came with being in Diddy's orbit. While he admitted he got a taste of that world, he emphasized that he never let those experiences take control of his life. He also noted that, despite everything, he wouldn't take back the advice Diddy gave him over the years. But Usher's tone was a bit different in a 2016 interview on The Howard Stern Show, where he once again reflected on that period of his life, this time focusing on Diddy's infamous Puffy Flavor Camp, a nickname for the wild trips and gatherings that were part of Diddy's so-called mentorship. Usher described those parties as places where very curious things were happening, hinting that what went on behind the scenes wasn't exactly innocent. When Stern bluntly asked whether he'd ever send his own kids to something like that, Usher didn't hesitate. "Hell no," he said.
I did say is that there were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand.
Looking back now, in light of the growing list of allegations against Diddy, Usher's past comments carry a whole new weight. What once sounded like wild behind-the-scenes industry tales now raise serious concerns about what young artists were really being exposed to behind closed doors. In recent years, Usher hasn't said much publicly about Diddy, and that silence has only grown louder as lawsuits and disturbing accusations against the Bad Boy Records founder continue to dominate headlines. While some celebrities have distanced themselves or subtly acknowledged the controversy, Usher has remained completely quiet, not a single word. But then, in September 2024, fans noticed something strange. Usher had wiped his entire profile on X, formerly Twitter. Every post gone, no explanation, no goodbye message, just a blank slate. When people started asking questions, Usher claimed his account had been hacked. Still, the timing was suspiciously convenient for many to believe it was just a coincidence, especially since it happened right around the time reports emerged of the FBI investigating Diddy and members of his inner circle. Naturally, theories started flying. Some believe Usher is staying silent out of fear, either because Diddy still holds sway in the industry or because he may possess damaging information about their shared past. Others think the social media purge was a calculated move, a way to scrub any digital footprints that might tie him to something deeper and darker. Fans have pointed out that Usher had a front row seat to Diddy's world from a very young age. He was there before the fame, during the chaos, and saw things most teenagers never should. Whether he's protecting himself, someone else, or simply trying to move on, one thing's clear: his silence speaks volumes. Others believe Usher simply doesn't want to get involved, but whatever the reason, his total silence hasn't gone unnoticed, and in a moment where the world is watching, that silence is speaking louder than words. Now, with Justin Bieber beginning to speak out about his own early experiences with Diddy, fans are connecting the dots. Usher's past comments, once seen as harmless anecdotes, are starting to feel like early warnings, hints of a disturbing environment that may have harmed more young artists than anyone realized. Justin, it seems, is finally ready to break his silence, not just about what happened to him, but about everything he witnessed growing up around some of the most powerful and influential names in the music industry. For years, his rebellious phase was dismissed as typical celebrity behavior, just another teen idol spiraling. But now, fans are beginning to see the deeper layers. Maybe it wasn't just angst. Maybe it was trauma. Sources close to Justin say he was present during Diddy's later years when the parties weren't just wild, they were downright unsettling. He wasn't just there for the fun, he was exposed to things no teenager should be. And he wasn't alone. Usher was often there, to having already endured his own coming of age under Diddy's influence. Justin has reportedly begun opening up about what really happened behind the scenes, what those rooms looked like when the cameras weren't rolling. He saw how Diddy operated. He saw the dynamic between Diddy and Usher, and how that relationship went far beyond music or mentorship. There was a clear, unspoken power imbalance. And Justin, still just a kid, was caught in the middle of it all after years of deleting posts, dodging questions, and carrying the weight of those memories in silence. It looks like Justin is finally done keeping quiet, and as he begins to speak out, he's not just naming names, he's exposing a pattern among the most explosive claims. Justin is reportedly calling attention to others who were also close to Diddy, including Meek Mill. In fact, one of the more shocking allegations in Rodney Lil Rod Jones's lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs is tucked away in the footnotes, but it's made a major splash online. In one section of the legal filing, Jones alleges that Diddy once bragged about having both Meek Mill and Usher. While neither Meek nor Usher are accused of any wrongdoing in the lawsuit, their names being casually dropped in those footnotes along with a leaked audio clip that's been circulating has fueled a wave of speculation and concern. Fans are left wondering just how deep this all goes and how many more secrets are still buried.
What? Yo, wait a minute.
So when Meek Mill saw his name pop up in Rodney Lil Rod Jones's lawsuit against Diddy, he didn't stay quiet. He went off in classic Meek fashion. He jumped on X, formerly Twitter, and fired off a marathon of posts shutting down the accusations. One of the most talked about lines, "No man or what would ever approach me about gay activity." And the whole place don't get flipped. Woke up seeing this on every blog like they know I'm coming. That's peak Meek, raw, unfiltered. And not one to mince words. But this time, that same energy kind of backfired. Instead of silencing the chatter, his loud and defensive tone only added fuel to the fire. Fans immediately latched onto every word. And the more Meek doubled down on declaring his heterosexuality, the more people began to ask questions and crack jokes. Still, Meek has been firm in denying any romantic or sexual connection to Diddy despite years of whispers and wild stories tying him to the mogul. He's consistently maintained that their relationship was strictly professional, and there is history there. Musically speaking, their collaborative streak ran strong. Between 2012 and 2015, Meek appeared on Diddy's track I Want the Love while Diddy returned the favor by guesting on Meek's Cold Hearted. They shared the studio, they shared stages, and yes, they shared some headline-making party appearances, including that infamous 2014 Grammys after party, hosted by Meek himself, the one that got shut down by the cops. That incident only added to the cloud of drama and speculation surrounding their connection. But even with all that noise, Meek has made it clear, whatever people think they know, he says it's just talk. As far as he's concerned, the bond between him and Diddy was all about music and nothing more. Rumors about Meek Mill and Diddy being more than just industry peers have circulated for years. But at the end of the day, that's all they are, rumors. When two high-profile names like Meek and Diddy have worked together and been spotted at the same events, people almost expect gossip to follow. And sure enough, the flashier the parties like that wild Grammy night, the crazier the stories tend to get. But Meek's stance has remained consistent from day one. He's not one to quietly ignore the noise, he actively shuts it down every time speculation bubbles up. He pushes back hard, reminding everyone that he's focused on his music and career, not caught up in baseless internet chatter. To him, his history with Diddy is rooted in music and business, nothing more. And while the internet loves to spin a story, especially when both names are trending, Meek's reaction proves he's not here for the drama, just the facts. In fact, after the latest wave of speculation, Meek didn't just deny the rumors, he escalated. He publicly offered $100 to any investigative team that could track down where these stories even originated. That bold move grabbed attention. It wasn't just about clearing his name, it was Meek suggesting that someone, somewhere, was actively trying to tarnish his reputation. He even hinted at something deeper, a possible smear campaign. Offering that kind of money wasn't about optics. It was a statement, someone's out here trying to mess with my name, he seemed to be saying. Interestingly, Meek hasn't directly addressed any of Diddy's own statements or the lawsuits swirling around him. Instead, he's kept his messaging vague but firm. Back in April, he posted, "I don't believe no Diddy story," and followed it up with, "Once they lied about me." That was enough for fans to understand Meek skeptical of anything tied to the headlines right now, especially when his own name keeps getting dragged into the narrative. Meek Mill has made it clear he feels like he's been the target of false rumors before. And you can tell he's fed up. It's almost like he's saying, I've been dragged into messy headlines before, and I'm not falling for it again. But that firm denial has people divided. Some fans and industry watchers believe Meek's quick dismissal of the rumors might not just be about clearing his name, it might be about protecting something deeper. Admitting that anything questionable happened, especially with someone as powerful and controversial as Diddy, means exposing yourself to serious judgment, backlash, and emotional vulnerability. It's not just about what happened, it's about the fallout. The way people talk, the way fans react, the way the industry shifts around you. And for someone like Meek, who's always projected strength, confidence, and raw honesty online, being vulnerable in that way could feel like too big of a risk. That doesn't necessarily mean he's hiding something sinister. It might just mean he's doing what a lot of people do when they feel cornered, putting up walls, brushing it off, and trying to keep control of the narrative. Denial, after all, can sometimes be a defense mechanism, not a lie, but a way to cope. Meanwhile, Justin Bieber has reportedly mentioned other names he's seen around Diddy's parties over the years, including Fabulous, who's also no stranger to the wild world of celebrity nightlife. Back in 2021, Fab actually posted a story to his Instagram that perfectly captured the chaotic energy of a typical Diddy bash. He talked about doing the classic Irish exit at one of Diddy's legendary after parties, that move where you pretend you're going to the bathroom, then just disappear without saying goodbye. He joked about being peer pressured into going to the afters, even though he really just wanted to crash for the night. You don't want to be the buzzkill, he said, but you're ready to call it a night, so he slipped out quietly. And here's the kicker, it was 7 a.m. and Diddy was still going full throttle. Fab said it himself, the man was still turned all the way up. That story, while played off as funny and relatable, also gave fans another glimpse into the never-ending nature of Diddy's infamous parties, and just how deep some of these circles went. Even in the lighthearted stories, there's always more under the surface.
I want to party with me for your birthday, man.
We party for my birthday before. You came to my party.
No, but me and you ain't never really party, you know what I'm saying?
While many got caught up in the chaos, some chose to bail at the first sign of trouble. On a recent episode of the Way in Miami podcast, veteran rapper Uncle Luke dropped some telling hints about just how wild Diddy's parties really are. He didn't reveal all the details, but his tone said it all. There's definitely more happening behind the scenes than most people realize. When asked why he always seemed to leave early, Uncle Luke kept it short and pointed. I don't know what goes on after hours, but I wasn't trying to find out. I know my place, basically. He recognized that Diddy's party scene wasn't for him and wisely kept his distance. Uncle Luke also shared a story that highlighted just how cautious he was about staying out of Diddy's inner circle. He talked about how his hit song I Want to Rock, which he originally made famous, was sampled by French Montana for the track Pop That, featuring big names like Rick Ross, Drake, and Lil Wayne. Apparently, no one gave him a heads up about the sample. Diddy did invite Uncle Luke to appear in the Pop That music video, but Luke declined, saying it just wasn't his scene. When the interviewer asked if he at least got paid for it, Uncle Luke gave a blunt, "Nah, I ain't want no check." And when another podcast member said, "All money ain't good money," Uncle Luke nodded in full agreement. It's clear that for him, staying true to himself and his values mattered far more than chasing quick cash or riding the hype train. Honestly, that kind of distance probably saved him from getting tangled up in the messier, darker sides of Diddy's wild world. A few days after all the back and forth, he dropped another hint in a video, suggesting that Diddy might have rubbed some major corporate players the wrong way, possibly explaining why he's now facing serious legal troubles. It was like he was saying this isn't just personal drama. There are bigger forces at play here. If you look at Diddy's recent business moves, that theory starts to add up. Back in June 2023, Diddy and Diageo, the massive alcohol company behind brands like Ciroc Vodka and Delian Tequila, officially ended their partnership. Things got so heated, it almost led to a full-blown legal battle. Diddy sued Diageo, accusing them of not holding up their end of the deal and failing to properly support their joint ventures, but Diageo fired back with some eyebrow-raising details. Despite generating close to $1 billion in profit from the brands, Diddy's actual financial contribution to the partnership was just $1,000. That little nugget caused a stir because it hinted at far more tension and complexity behind the scenes than anyone realized. So, his suggestion that Diddy may have angered some powerful corporate players, and that this is part of why the legal pressure is mounting, doesn't seem too far-fetched. It paints a picture of a much larger chess game unfolding behind the headlines and social media drama. Justin Bieber's rise to fame is often talked about, but what's less discussed is how involved some major industry figures were in his early years, especially Diddy. Bieber was discovered at just 13 by Scooter Braun, a former marketing executive who saw huge potential in the young singer, teamed up with Usher to create a special joint venture called Raymond Braun Music Group, specifically to launch Justin Bieber's career. This is where Diddy comes into the picture in a video Bieber posted on his YouTube channel back in November 2009. When he was just about 15, Diddy talks about Bieber spending 48 hours with him. Diddy teased the experience without revealing too much, saying, "Where we're hanging out and what we're doing, we can't really disclose. But it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream." What's notable is that Diddy clarifies he didn't have legal guardianship over Bieber during those 48 hours, unlike his arrangement with Usher. So, it was a short but intense mentorship or hangout. At one point, Diddy asks Bieber what he wants to do, and Bieber cheekily replies, "Let's go get some girls." Diddy responds with a grin, "A man after my own heart. That's what I'm talking about." The vibe was casual and almost brotherly, but in hindsight, it shows how Bieber was being introduced early on to the adult world of music, fame, and partying. Fast forward to December 2010, when Bieber was 16. There's another video on Diddy's YouTube channel where Diddy is teaching Bieber how to swag walk. He even points out how Bieber's behavior was changing, saying, "You ain't been calling me and hanging out like we used to." You can tell they had some kind of bond, even if it wasn't always close or consistent. As Bieber grew older and more famous, they were photographed together less often, but it seemed they stayed on decent terms then. Around 2014, on an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Khloe Kardashian shared a wild story about a party she attended where half the guests were completely naked. When her sister Kourtney asked who was there, she named off a list that included Diddy, or Quincy Combs as she called him. Putting all of this together, it's clear that Bieber's early career involved being surrounded by some very adult, intense scenes, with Diddy right at the center. While the public mostly sees the polished pop star now, these behind-the-scenes glimpses reveal a much more complicated and sometimes wild introduction to fame. Lately, Justin Bieber has been opening up in ways that have caught a lot of attention. He started talking about how, back in the day, Diddy would make him watch some pretty intense stuff, things you wouldn't expect a teenager to be exposed to. It seems Justin is hinting that those early hangouts with Diddy weren't just about fun or learning the music business. Instead, he's revealing a darker, more uncomfortable side to those experiences. From what Justin has shared, it sounds like Diddy had him sit through situations that felt inappropriate, or way beyond what a kid that young should see. The exact details aren't clear, but Justin's tone makes it obvious it wasn't the kind of environment a teenager should have been in. This raises serious questions about the kind of world he was introduced to, and whether it was more harmful than helpful for fans and outsiders. It's a lot to process, especially given how big of an influence Diddy was early in Justin's career. Now, Justin seems to be challenging the public narrative, showing us a much more complex story. So what do you think? Drop a comment below and let me know if you liked this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell icon to be the first to see my next upload. I post updates like this every week, uncovering the secrets of your favorite celebrities.